I ran into my yoga instructor at that time, some old woman. She was like, I think 80, but this woman could stand on her head. When I told her that, oh my goodness, my husband died, I don't know what to do, then she looked at me, she took a step back and she said, you're so young and beautiful, and your husband died. It's gonna be so hard. Every part of your body is going to mourn in different ways. Every part of my body is going to mourn in different ways. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. And if you're new here, this is a spot where we come to talk about self-mastery, wellness remedies, and self-care. Today I'm going to be talking about grief, and I'm going to be pointing out 5 things about grief that you can only fully understand once you go through deep grief, or once you lose someone that has been so very close to you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ida. I am a widow. I lost my husband during COVID, and I have been battling grief for the past 4 years. I'm not new to grief. I lost my mom when I was 19. I lost my dad when I was 13. And I have maneuvered through a number of things. And that's why I come to you from that point.
Just a little disclaimer, everything I'm talking about is straight out of my widow diaries. It's purely my experience. If it does not resonate with you, don't take it personal. We're just here to learn and share experiences. If you enjoy it, give me a thumbs up.
Let's go into it. Number 1, grief is not only emotional. We all think that once you go through grief, it's gonna affect your heart and you're gonna get done with it at a certain point. But that's not true. Grief is actually emotional and physical. When I talk about physical, I mean other than just feeling emotionally drained. With grief, when you lose someone that is super close to you, your body gets physically hurt. One of the things that took me by surprise when I lost my husband, it wasn't really a surprise because someone had told me about it. I remember I ran into my yoga instructor when I had just lost my husband, and I was telling her about my grief. And this is like an 80-year-old woman, so she comes with a lot of experience. She told me, oh my goodness, you're still young and you lost your husband. Your body is going to grieve. And I was like, what do you mean? She said every part of your body is going to grieve in different times and different times, so be ready for that. And I was just like, oh, well, I was already grief stricken, like nothing was gonna be more painful than what I was already feeling. But I realized that with time you're going to find this very crazy, and I'm trying to find the right words to put it together so I don't sound weird. But like, yeah, with time, every part of my body, different parts of my body would show different symptoms that could illustrate that they are grieving. Yeah, like my skin, my hands, just know that different parts of your body will go through their own detachment. I think because they were used to this person, I don't know. Believe me, my body started showing different signs of distress, and one part at a time. But we are talking about things about grief that you can only understand once you have experienced them. That was point number 1. Now let's go to our point number 2. Grief shows up in different ways. And what I mean by this is that like, each kind of grief is different. Like I told you from the beginning of the video, I lost my mom when I was 19, I lost my dad when I was 13, and I lost my husband when I was older. Where I felt when I lost my dad is very different from the way I felt when I lost my mom. And when I lost my husband, it was also very, very different. There is no grief that is identical. Like, that's why grief is one thing. You can never try to put yourself into someone else's shoes when they're experiencing. Like, I could not relate the grief to my husband's death to the grief of my mom's death. Yet both of these people meant so much to me. They gave me a significant loss. It was very different. With that being said, let's go to our point number 3. Grief triggers and grief waves. I never had this when I lost my mom, and I think maybe because I was younger, or I wasn't like very connected to my inner self. But like when I lost my husband, I could highly understand my grief triggers, and I knew there and then things that could just make me cry out of the blue. When I married my husband, me and him lived on a boat. It was a brand new experience to my life, coming from a different setting, and then it was very significant. So even when we moved on and we lived together in different settings, it still kind of like was an experience that I only experienced with him. So my dear, when I tell you that marinas are still, up to now, a very strong grief trigger to me, I cannot stand being near marinas. I mean, I have to breathe, and I have to do my inner work before I actually walk there. I love boating, and I like to be in the water, and I enjoyed so much of that time when my husband and I would get time off and enjoy that, because we all love boating. It became one of the hugest grief triggers in my grief journey. Another thing was still with the boating. My husband was a boater. He was in the Coast Guard, and he pulled me in the Coast Guard too. I was volunteering as an auxiliarist, and I was helping with vessel inspections, and I mean, like, different things around the boating community. But when my husband died, I couldn't even go back to my volunteer work. I cannot stand sitting in these meetings and see these crew people talking about boat. I cannot do that. The most weird thing about losing a partner is like your life is so intertwined that your grief triggers are everywhere. The places you used to love to go eat, actually your nice things that were very pleasurable when you had your partner become grief triggers, and that's really, really sad. Point number 4, family dynamics and relationships with friends. So when we talk about relationships and how they shift in a number of ways, is insane. This is gonna be from different reasons, but for me, I experienced it in a way that, like, because I'm an immigrant, most of the community I built or that I was around with, I got to know with my husband. People relate to you as either so-and-so's wife, or like as a couple, and stuff like that. So you have like these couple friends of yours who you visit each other and you do things with them. They are going to be the first ones to change the way they relate to you. And I know it's not conscious. They don't do it consciously. It's not like they hate you or something, but they just feel like, I don't know how they feel, but I think this is what I got myself to think and agree with. It's like when you're walking around and now you're very sad, and they're used to you as a very jolly person with your partner, I think you remind them of their hugest nightmare. Like you are a walking example of something they dread that would actually happen to them, their reality nightmare. For example, like if you were a married couple and they were a married couple and used to go to double dates and used to like go to vacations together, and then your partner suddenly dies, they don't know how to relate to you. And even if they do, whenever they look at you, they're imagining their partner dying too. So subconsciously, they're going to kind of avoid you. Disappeared.
The most hurtful one though is the family relationships. Like for some of us who intermarried and you have like these families that you came in when you're older, and culture crashes. Oh my goodness, I can't even tell you the whole load of how it changes after you lose your lover. Like this was the person who was keeping the family fabric together. Now that they're dead, all these adult children and everyone you knew from this family that adopted you start like disappearing one by one. I still have raw emotions over that one, so I'm not even going to go there. But maybe one day I will make a video about it. And then there is this other point. Actually, that's our next point. Like, people try to rush your grief.
Like, it's been 4 years. When did your husband die? It's been 4 years. Are you still? Yes. Time has nothing to do with how you grieve. Like, that's an illusion, you know. Long time, 12 years, 15 years doesn't help. What helps is your coping mechanism, like your inner work. Your grief journey is gonna be different, so it doesn't mean like so and so was over it in 2 years. You are still grief stricken at 3 years. No, we all have different capacities, and leave us alone.
So if you're one of those kinds of people, please just know that everyone's grief journey is different, and let people mourn in peace. If you're going through grief, please understand that this is a difficult time, but you will overcome it. Just on your journey and do whatever you gotta do to make yourself feel better. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and let us walk this journey together. See you at the top. Love you. Bye.